When people are in power and they feel like they can get away with stuff, brother, they do what the F they want to do. How you get on television and ask a man to come party with you in a sexual, provocative way?
Party with me for your birthday, man.
We partied for my birthday before. You came to my party.
No, but me and you ain't never really party, you know what I'm saying?
Fabulous looks stunned instead of saying, what are you talking about? Party with you how? You out your mind. He don't go that route with him because of Diddy's power. Look at what he did to making of the band. Tell me one making of a band member that made it doing anything. Diddy has so much power that it scared people. The greatest radio host in New York City was fired and moved out because she posted a picture of a guy pulling his pants down. Those people that want to be in that business are scared by power like that. He had got to the point he was so high and so mighty, they wouldn't be able to eat in that business ever.
More than 1,000 bottles of body oil and lubricants and IV treatments after these freak-off parties. If you want to know why P. Diddy is getting arrested, I just went through the 14-page indictment that was just released. I'm only going to show you the parts that you need to see from this, so you don't have to go through the whole thing. But again, this is going to be a lot to try to censor on here. There's tons in this document, so in an effort to not get this suppressed, please press the buttons. Anyway, so it looks like they're going after him and all of his associates that work for Combs Enterprises for engaging in criminal activity, including trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstructing justice. Also, look at his name, Sean.
Diddy had been trying to get to Bieber for a minute, and his management was backing him off. But it wasn't until Usher took over management and had guardianship and gave temporary guardianship to the diddler for 48 hours. Think about that.
Sean Combs, aka Puff Daddy, aka P. Diddy, aka Diddy, aka PD, aka Love. On every line they had to put that. They're saying that he engaged in all kinds of abusive behavior against women, verbal, emotional, physical, and that he was manipulating women into doing highly orchestrated performances that were, orchestrated by him with other male S-workers. It's at this point in the document where I start figuring out that the freak-off parties are just Diddy orchestrating real-life porn because it's not enough for him to watch anymore, so he is transporting real-life humans to him to put on performances against their will for him to consume. And
he had already been to the hospital. That situation that Gene was talking about. And you still took Bieber there. But you got custody of him first. Diddy had already tried.
And having this level of boredom and having enough money to be able to do this to human beings is exactly why billionaires should not exist, but I digress. He would ensure the participation of these women by giving them, narcotics and controlling their careers, finances, and basically threatened to end them if they didn't do it. Now this is where they go into the fact that everyone who was working for his business, including certain employees, were carrying out, facilitating this, and covering up his abuse. It talks about his security staff, his household staff, his personal assistants, high-ranking supervisors, everyone that was working for him is going to be under fire now because they
wouldn't let him. Actually, someone made reference to the fact that Diddy trying to get at Bieber the way he was trying to get at Bieber was looking a little predatory. And then Usher came in and discovered it and managed him and got custody of him and promised to look after him. And then he sent him to the diddler.
We're conducting and facilitating and assisting him in doing these things. This part went on to talk a little bit about the function of Combs Enterprises. They talk about how basically they were enticing the members by making their lives better if they were willing to conceal his crimes for him, preserving, protecting, promoting, and enabling the power of Combs Enterprises, including the power of its leader, Combs, through violence, use of firearms, threats of violence, coercion, verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. This part gets worse. It talks about how Combs and the members and associates of his business used his prestigious role as P. Diddy to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into his orbit after under the guise of having a romantic relationship with him, and then he would use and force them with threats and coercion into becoming one of his victims. And
Does that sound like a good guy?
It's horrible.
Does that sound like a good guy? Now that we know what Diddy's really like. They're not seeing what the intentions was in his heart when he took Justin Bieber there.
Oh.
Let's be honest. He took Justin Bieber there.
here's where they start talking about the freak-off parties. So, he was enticing girls to get into his orbit under the guise of that your life is going to get better, you're going to be my girlfriend, and then he was bringing them to these freak-off parties. Amongst other things, the freak-off parties were, like I said earlier, elaborate produced performances arranged by Combs, directed, and he would watch and enjoy during, and they were also electronically recorded. So he's also in a lot of trouble for transporting all of the workers to these parties, workers and victims. So it says that he transported the commercial S workers across state lines intentionally for these parties, and then would distribute various controlled substances. I don't know if you guys remember, but there were often pictures of outside his home having huge black vans, and one of his neighbors at the time that all of this stuff started coming out said that there were often these buses going in and out of his house all hours of the night and women standing around them. That seems to match up with what is being said here. Freak-offs occurred regularly and sometimes lasted multiple days. Combs kept videos he filmed of the victims engaging in the acts with the commercial workers, and after these freak-off parties, Combs would typically provide IV fluids so that they could physically recover from the exertion and the substances. His team is in trouble for booking rooms for these parties to occur, and also for making sure that he was set up with everything he needed, including the substances, the baby oil, lubricant, linens, anything that he would need for these parties. Basically, they're saying there's other people involved in helping him facilitate this, and they're all going down. Victims of these parties were often subjected to all kinds of abuse, and afterwards, Diddy would maintain his control over them by promising them careers, threatening physical violence, granting and threatening and withholding financial support over their head, coercion, all kinds of things. This also says that he would maintain control over them by supplying them controlled substances, which probably means getting them hooked on them, which is exactly what his past bodyguard said that he had planned to do to Diddy Kane. Apparently, according to that bodyguard, Diddy said to a room full of people that he was going to get Diddy Kane hooked on drugs and use them as workers for him. The list goes on about him being in trouble for transporting him for the enterprise, also having accountability in that, and then it also goes on to just say that there was involvement in kidnapping, which is just crazy. I mean, this pretty much covers it all, and apparently he is about to plead not guilty.
When people are in power and they feel like they can get away with stuff, brother, they do what the F they want to do. How you get on television and ask a man to come party with you in a sexual, provocative way?
I want